everyone, and welcome to the recap of round 10. Now, you might be thinking like, hey, you're not there anymore in this hotel room from this weird angle. No, that's correct. I'm recording from home because it was round 10. I got very tired after the round, so I did not stream. And the last round was starting a bit earlier, so I thought it was important to take some rest. And we'll see when I would record the recap. So we have arrived to round 10. In round 10, I played against woman grandmaster Viktoria Radeva. She's from Bulgaria, and we've known each other since we were very little. We played each other twice in the, I believe, World Youth Championship. I'm not sure if it was both times, but I know that we played in the European and the World Youth Championships, and we met each other twice in those events. This time I'm playing with the black pieces, and for some reason it shows I'm 1900. I blame chess.com for this because I copied the game from chess.com events page, and it uses my rapid rating. I don't know why. I don't know why we see those clocks here. They're not supposed to be there. Okay, anyways, just disregard the clocks and the ratings for the time being. Anyways, also is that her rapid rating? That's not her real rating. Her real rating, her FIDE OTB rating is 2200 plus, like almost 2300. So this is very scuffed. Okay, anyways, what matters is the game, so let's get right into it. So she played the move e4 on the first move. And I expected this. I believe, as far as I can remember, she plays e4 all the time, just like me. Hi. And for the longest time, I was debating whether I should play the French or no, because with the French, throughout the tournament, I had a really good result. So I thought, should I repeat that? Should I, not finish on a bad note with the French? What should I do? So for the longest time, I was trying to figure out what to play, and I thought, I'm going to play the French. I went for the French, I was preparing it, but there was this crazy line in the French tirage that made me feel like, okay, she played this at least 3 times OTB. The chances of her knowing this line very well, which showed in the actual games that she knows it very well, I thought, okay, I never really played this ever. The one time I played it's with the white pieces, and I didn't know this sharp line and I got destroyed, because if you make one mistake you have a big problem. So I was like, okay, do I go for this? So for the longest time I was analyzing this line and trying to decide whether I wanted to go for this, because it's pretty forced. It was really hard to avoid this line, but yeah, I wasn't really sure what I wanted. Then at some point I was like, okay, that's it, I'm going for something else. I'm too afraid to go into this line for now. I could tell that her openings, she knows a lot of openings, and I thought I would not be doing well in this regard. So I thought, let's change it up. Let's surprise her, and I played c5. I typically don't really play this anymore, but you gotta have your secret weapon sometimes pop up, once in a while. It's definitely not like new territory for me. However, she played knight f3, which is, okay, expected, and I play e6, and I don't think I've really played this line. I played this line recently in the Dutch Women Championship, and that ended in a draw. I had a nice position. But this game was a bit different. So d4 is what she played, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, and knight c6. This is a line that Hammer taught me. It is part of his course on chess.com, where he's discussing lines where either side is doing a Bongcloud, putting the king either on e2 or e7, and yeah, you might think like, oh, that's ridiculous. You can't do that to your king ever. Like, we know the actual Bongcloud opening is horrible, but he shows such lines that actually have a legitimate Bongcloud where the king either goes to e2 or e7, and it actually makes sense and it works out and it looks good. Like, it looks weird, but it works. So those are really interesting openings, interesting lines, and in this game, you'll see one of those. So knight d2 b5. Another line is with knight takes c6, but knight d2 b5 is perfectly fine. Here I played bishop c5, and after knight d6, here I played the Bongcloud king e7. And it looks a bit odd, but the problem is that after bishop takes d6, which is a logical move, queen takes d6, and it's a bit hard to see. I mean, obviously you can play queen e7, but this is a whole different line, and yeah, I don't really like this. I've typically had this, I used to have this with the white pieces. I have to admit, I never liked my position with the white pieces, but yeah, this is a completely different territory. Maybe I should have considered this in the actual game, maybe. Anyways, so king e7, the line goes like bishop f4. She's defending the knight on d6, obviously, because if you take the bishop, you might think like, okay, I'm taking your bishop, I'll have the power of bishops now, like look at those too, amazing. But in reality, I'm not too upset about this because rook takes c8, and I'm really happy that you took my bishop that never moved, because I would have to spend some time developing that bishop. And look at my piece development. Like, it's amazing. I know my king is in the center, but sooner or later, rook e8, king f8, king g8, and your king is safe. And at the same time, white still needs to develop pretty much. The bishops are still on the first row, and the king hasn't castled. So, yeah, this is perfectly fine for black. More than fine, actually. So bishop f4, and now e5. So knight f5 check is pretty straightforward. King f8, bishop g5. And here I was like, hold up there. Hold up there. Am I supposed to play d6 or h6? And I just completely blacked out. Like, the decision to play this line was so last minute. I looked through all the lines. Part of me did not expect this to happen. You know, the psychology that whenever your opponent plays something different, you also play something different. And I was kind of having this feeling, this thought that she will play something else, or we will go into a different line. I just did not expect this line for whatever reason. And yeah, so I went with h6 after a thought of like, I don't know, 10 minutes, maybe even more. I would say 10 minutes. And turns out the actual move is d6, and then on the next move you play h6. So yeah, when I looked at the analysis, I was a bit sad because, you know, you prepare something, and I know many times during this tournament that I've looked at my preparation and had some proper prep, I mess it up. And this has become a specific theme throughout this event pretty much. Like every time I was not preparing or just being like whatever happens, or I didn't really care about what would happen. You know, I just play my own lines. Those games went really well. Whereas here, I come up with something, or I prepare something special. And then this happens. I don't know what to do. And it's so weird that I couldn't figure out whether it's d6 or h6. And I went with the wrong move. Like, what are the odds? 50%. So bishop takes f6, queen takes f6, knight e3, and I was just completely confused as to what I'm supposed to be doing here, because to me it felt like I had a really bad Sveshnikov. Like, okay, my bishop is out on c5, and I haven't played d6 just yet, but I need to develop this bishop somehow. d5 square is extremely weak. Like, I gave two knights the opportunity to jump there. Like, you can't make this up. Okay, not this one just yet because of checkmate, but you understand the idea. And it's really easy here for white to develop. Like, you can develop the bishop almost anywhere, e2, d3, c4. I have a hard time seeing what's wrong with any of those moves. If you're crazy, you can even go to b5, but I feel like that's unnecessary. You can play short castle. You even have the option to go long castle with the queen going to d2. There's a lot of options here for white. And for me, I'm just like, okay, d6, bishop e6, and then what? I don't know. So I played d6 because I need to develop this bishop sometime soon, you know? She played bishop c4, bishop e6, bishop takes e6, queen takes e6. I think before I played bishop e6, I had this thought of maybe I take with the pawn. But I could not believe that playing f takes e6 would ever make my king feel safe, because I'm on the same file as the queen. Put a rook on f3 and it's game over. Or even rook f1, f4. I mean, not right now, but the idea is there. And I was a bit terrified of that. I thought I can't really put this king on a safe square. But I have a feeling that after f takes e6, can put the king on e7. And okay, maybe not right now. Okay, let me show you what I'm looking at. So f takes e6, and imagine white plays anything like queen d2. You can't play king e7 immediately because of knight d5 check, and after it takes, knight takes d5, you reinforce the threat, and now you can't stop it anymore. You lose the queen. By the way, let me add the evaluation bar because we haven't seen that in a long time. And yeah, as you can see, white is completely winning here. So let us go back to the moment where I played queen takes e6. So as it turns out, f takes e6 is pretty much fine. You just have to be careful with the knight d5 threat. But yeah, I feel like I was just seeing ghosts during the game, and now I'm starting to understand that f takes e6 might have been a bit more accurate, not allowing the knight to jump to f5 or to d5, as well as the other one. So I played queen takes e6, and yeah, you can also see the eval bar drop now. Knight c to d5, and it's really hard to see how you get rid of this knight. I mean, you can try to trade one pair of knights, but there's another knight just waiting to jump to d5, and even if you, for example, you take here on e3, you'll have such a difficult time navigating here because your king is still on f8, and you don't really have any sort of compensation for this, you know? You just have a bad position, and you still have this backwards pawn over here. And you might say like, okay, this f2 pawn is also a little bit backwards. But I mean, there's a friend over here, first of all. And second of all, if you play f4, I think that is only in white's favor. And you're actually able to play f4. I'm never able to play d5. So anyways, I played rook c8. And yeah, I just didn't really have an idea what to do here. I just avoid any knight c7 sort of moves. She played queen d3, and I played a6. I'm simply clueless as to what to do here. What moves do I even have? If you ask me to name 3 candidate moves, I have a hard time naming those because I just can't see a plan. What is the plan here for black? The biggest problem I was facing is that any sort of move, it felt like it was weakening. So I played a6 and it's weakening b6 a lot. My pawns are not feeling too great over here. At the same time, if I play a move like g6, then maybe f4 will happen, and then I'll have problems on the f file. f7 pawn will be weak, and it felt all so slow. And that's why I had such a hard time seeing what to do, actually. I played the move a6, and I just checked engine to see what engine is suggesting, and the top move is king g8. Bishop takes e3 is also another idea, but I felt so sad giving up on this bishop that is actually pretty strong. So yeah, I played a6, my opponent played c3, and it just terrifies me so much that her plan is to play b4 and b5, and you can just already smell from so far away that the pawns here are so weak, and you're gonna have such a big problem on the queen side. And then we haven't discussed this king yet. It's still there. So I played g6 to try to do something and put my king on g7, short castle, king g7, b4, and yeah, she's just pushing those pawns through on the queen side. Bishop a7. Part of the reason why I played a6 because I saw this coming from miles away, and this was the only way I thought I could deal with it and hope for the best. She plays a4 because she wants to play b5, maybe play a5 first. She has so many options. She can even start with c4. I mean, you're giving up the square on d4, but is it so bad? I don't know. It's not like I can, you know, create a miracle from that square. In any case, I thought, okay, I have to be creative here. Knight b8. And the reason why is because I felt like the knight on c6 was doing nothing. I'm just allowing b5 to happen, and okay, actually the threat is b5 and b6, so I have to move the knight pretty much, or I have to do something. But I didn't really feel like going to e7 or elsewhere because I thought I need to improve the position of the knight. Now engine is more happy with knight e7, which is okay, I guess it makes sense, as in you can hold the position better like that. To me, it's difficult to see how, but yeah, engine is engine. We know engine. I just didn't like that after knight e7 takes, queen takes, knight d5. It's this bishop versus knight when will this bishop ever wake up? Like, in my head, it's just -3 for me because I don't have a bishop. The only good thing that this bishop is doing is stopping white to play f4. But after king h1, that idea is also gone. So white could easily play f4 after that. And then the only purpose of the bishop would be that I can maybe defend this pawn by playing bishop b8. And I think that is pretty sad. So yeah, I did not like that thought. So I went for knight b8. King h1 was played, knight d7, rook a d1, simply preparing a sort of attack on this pawn, which makes absolutely a lot of sense. Rook hf8. I was kind of hoping to play f5 at some point. I have to take desperate measures. You know how the saying goes, desperate times ask for desperate measures or something? That is pretty accurate in this situation for me. She plays f4, and I was a bit displeased by that. I mean, it's very, very obvious. Like, you know it's gonna happen. I just had this feeling that I was able to counter it better when I played rook hf8. I thought originally I could counter it by playing f5. But as it turns out, they're not gonna take here first. They're gonna take here first. Somewhere in my calculations, I think I underestimated white's attack here. Specifically that after takes, there's a pawn hanging here, and I have a hard time defending that. I hoped I could play f4 or something like that, but f4, knight takes f4, and yeah, that does not look so great. And I think I might even be checkmated in a few moves. So yeah, somewhere in my calculation, something went wrong here. I think I could push the pawn, or this pawn was not under attack, so I could play knight takes e5, stuff like that. Even bishop takes e3, knight takes, like, yeah, I could play f4 here, but I think it's very obvious that this is just straight up lost. Queen takes d6 is gonna happen. There's an attack going on the knight, so if I take here, queen, well, actually there's a queen hanging, so imagine queen takes first, rook takes, and then pawn takes. They take it with check. Otherwise, obviously, would have been checkmate in one, because I will take that rook. But yeah, unfortunately, my king was on g7. If it was here, maybe maybe it was actually a good idea, but it's on g7. It's all because of the king. This king, yeah. I mean, it's easy to blame it on the Bongcloud, but I would say I blame it on the fact that I didn't play the opening accurately. And this is what happens when you don't do that. Anyways, f4 happened, and I played e takes f4. Because I thought, well, I can't really play f5, so I have to take. Otherwise, f5 is gonna happen on my roof. f6 followed, and goodbye, everything. I mean, where's the queen even going? I don't even want to think about it. E takes f4, knight takes f4, queen e7. Here I'm trying to play for tricks, because obviously queen takes d6 is a logical move, but first of all, I can take here and then take this knight and then take the pawn, and that will give me some compensation. Also, this pawn is hanging on e4, so it's a bit more difficult for her to play this. I mean, she can go for those direct ideas. She has to play very patiently, which she does. Knight c4. There's no rush, obviously. Like, you have such a nice position. You have two knights. One can go to d5. The other one is attacking the pawn d6. This diagonal is pretty exposed. Ideally, I put my bishop on g7. Ideally, I would want to swap them, actually. I don't think that's a bad idea, swapping them. But okay, ideally, you want to put your king on g8 and bishop on g7. I think that would still be holdable, especially because the bishop is looking at the pawn on c3. But yeah, sadly, I cannot create a miracle or use magic to change this position. So we have to deal with what we have. Knight e5. At least I'm trading, I guess. Knight takes e5, d takes e5, knight to d5, and we're back to this position that we talked about earlier. Knight versus bishop, and it just hurts so much that this knight is here, but I thought this is an improvement from the other position that we had, because now my pawn is not so weak anymore. It's on e5. At least it is towards the king side. It's defending my king a little bit, and it feels a bit safer. It feels a bit better. So I thought maybe I still have some chance to equalize it. But okay, we have to agree here. We have to admit that there are still some problems here on the queen side happening, because those pawns can be really scary, and b5 will happen soon, and yeah, this bishop will not have a good time. Okay, I actually have to be careful with b5, because then I will play bishop c5. But okay, it's at the right time. Pushing those pawns will be very, very crucial. Queen d7, queen g3. I simply don't even know what I'm supposed to do here. I'm just moving my pieces, and apparently here, I mean, the pawn e5 is hanging, and one of the very few ways to defend it is by moving the queen to e8, because if I do it otherwise, then, for example, if I put one of the rooks on e8, then knight f6 will happen. And yeah, this is a very nice move, queen g3, that is, because not only are you attacking this pawn on e5, you're also giving the rook some space to attack the queen very soon. Now the knight is the only piece in the way, and you have all sorts of discovery attack moves. So queen e8, I thought, yeah, don't really have much choice. Rook d3, bishop b8, I mean, queen h4, rook c6. I'm simply just trying to survive here. It's like you play move by move. You see that there's a threat, you defend. You see there's some threat, rook h3, you defend. And this is quite original. I thought it was pretty nice to defend this pawn on h6 like this, by opening up the rook and putting the rook on the 6th rank. Because I thought, if I'm gonna play h5, that will be the end of everything. I mean, first of all, after h5, there's knight f6, and there will be a sacrifice sooner or later. So yeah, I was not having that. So g5, queen h5, rook g6. Yeah, what can I say? I'm just trying to defend. Knight e3. Now, the downside of playing g5 is that I'm allowing knight f5. Oh, that's not f5, here. And I created another strong square for my opponent. It's a weak square for me, and yeah, it's just, it sucks. Queen e6, rook hf3, bishop a7. I have to note, we were around time trouble time at this point. For me, it's quite easy that I have to defend. It's pretty hard, but my moves are pretty, I want to say forced, but I don't really have much choice. I don't have many moves left. I don't have to think about some crazy idea. I just need to hold. Whereas my opponent has to think of some ideas to improve her position even more and find a way to end the game, because she's completely winning. But okay, material-wise, it's still equal, and one mistake can be the end of everything. So that was my hope. Knight g4, f6. It's kind of cute how much I trapped my rook on g6. This pawn formation over here, I don't know, it's pretty cute, but yeah, I was in huge time trouble, and I thought, yeah, let's play f6. I don't know. If I lose the rook, then so be it, but yeah. I was just thinking in the moment that I don't want to allow any sort of rook f6, so then a move like f6 appears quickly in your mind, because you want to have this rook defend that as well. h3, king h7. I'm just simply moving left and right. Rook f5, bishop b8. No purpose at all, just making a move. It's like I'm almost in Zugzwang. Knight e3, bishop d6, rook 5 f3, rook f7, knight f5. I'm not sure if I want to trade the knight to the bishop. I guess I want to, but I just couldn't see any other move. Everything just felt horrible. Rook d3, g4. Here I thought, hey, let's go, g4. Somehow I really love this idea, because it gave my rook some air, and especially because my bishop is defending the pawn on h6, I'm more or less free to play rook g5. So I thought maybe counterplay chances here, maybe. Rook fd1 was played. She did not take, sadly. I was really hoping for that. I played rook g5, and here she took on f7. I really thought she was gonna play queen h4, and we would have a very long game where she would be torturing me pretty much. So I was not looking forward to that, obviously, but she took. And I was like, interesting. Queen takes, rook d7. And here, I'm not taking on d7. I'm not, which is probably really strange to you, because, I mean, you're losing the queen anyways. Why would you not take? The reason why you don't want to take here is after rook takes c7, the king moves anywhere. For example, g6 or whatever. Rook takes b7. This rook is still trapped, not going anywhere. This knight is blocking all my pieces, literally. My rook cannot move because of the knight. My king cannot move because of the knight. The best I can do with this king is go to h5. It's actually pretty sad. So yeah, this is why it's just horrible. After rook d7, you can also consider playing king g8 to have the king a bit closer. But after rook takes, king takes, rook d7, it's the same idea. And even if you get your king on e6, I think that's even more problematic because you cannot move your bishop ever. Your bishop is doomed. Rook e7 is always a move we need to take care of. And if this bishop even manages to get to h6, which is not even possible, that will be checkmate with rook e7. So yeah, it's just horrible. Rook takes b7 and yeah, same story as the last line. Instead, I played rook g7. And you might feel like, okay, I guess that's a bit better, but you're leaving the pawn on g4 alone. Your rook is not gonna be any better over here. And what about knight takes g7? Because if you take the rook now, rook takes d7 and white is up a rook. Okay, maybe an exchange, but this bishop is not going anywhere. The idea is that after knight takes g7, I'm not taking on d7. I don't have to take anymore. I can move my queen. And apparently queen c4 is the top move here. But I was thinking of both queen c4 and queen b3. And after queen b3, my idea is that after knight f5 check, I move my king to either g6 or g8. I think g6 is a bit more active because now I actually can maybe run to the e4 pawn. And the nice part about this for me is that rook takes b7 is not a move. The rook is simply hanging. So here I hope that I would have some counterplay somehow because there is a material imbalance going on. And with material imbalances, things can change really, really quickly. She did not play this. She went for rook takes f7, which is the best move. Rook takes f7, h takes g4, rook c7, rook d8, king g8. I mean, I don't really have many moves. It's pretty much forced. I accepted that I'm giving away those pawns, one on g4 and the other one on h6 now. So this was actually played, king g7, knight f5, king f7. But if you look at it this way, black is down 2 pawns, but there are no passed pawns. How? And one of the reasons that white's position, I mean, obviously white is still winning, but is not as simple is because those pawns are so weak, so weak. And sooner or later, I can either take that or I can jump to e4. And those pawns are really weak. So there are some chances here for black. It's looking a little bit better than it was before. So let's see how it continues. Rook d3. Rook c4, rook d7 check, king g6. Sadly, she's taking another pawn. Rook takes b7, rook takes c3, rook b8. And yeah, I have to play king f7. My bishop is just trapped. It's incredible. And obviously, I don't want to trade the bishop for the knight right now because the rook endgame is simply lost. She doesn't even have to trade. After bishop g7, I'm just losing the piece. And if I defend, then she will happily go into the pawn endgame. That is actually 100% lost. Yeah. So king f7, I have to play b5, a takes b5, a takes b5. And yeah, here I was already pretty low on time and I was seeing some ideas here and there, but I messed it up a little bit, my calculation. So apparently I'm supposed to play rook c4 here and it's around +1 for white. But I feel like given the fact that I'll be able to take this pawn e4 and I'll be able to stop the pawn somehow. And even if I manage to sacrifice the bishop for the pawn, white still needs to find a way to convert this. Because once it gets to a rook and knight versus rook endgame, it's a draw. I mean, it should be a draw. You can still lose it with black, but it should be a draw. Rook c4 would have given me the best chances. And it would have been interesting to see how the game would have been continued after this. Because, so apparently after b6, rook takes e4, rook b7, king e6. Those are very logical moves. If rook b8, okay, you just retreat. So that's, yeah, that's just a repetition. I'm actually not, like, I'm checking the engine line and it just gives me another rook b7 check, which is kind of crazy. After b7, there's rook b4. The rook is tied to the pawn. King g1 should be played. e4. I can't even consider playing bishop c5 check, but I have to be really careful with those moves because I'm basically stopping this knight from going to d6. And I mean, of course, the knight is stopping me from going there as well, but it's the other way around as well right now, because once the knight gets to d6, this rook can move freely, and then there's a promotion happening. So yeah, you have to be really careful here. But yeah, rook b2 comes to mind to just simply stop this king from going here. I guess the king can still come around or play king f1 and go all the way there. But this might have been still very interesting because it's really hard to see how white can easily convert this. It's very, very difficult. It's very difficult to play this, and it might have ended in a draw like this. Instead, I played the move bishop c5, and I did not really calculate this properly, that after b6, rook c1 check, king h2, bishop g1, king h3, rook c3, g3. I was a bit sad that g3 was even a move. Because imagine if king h4, bishop f2, and then king h5, and okay, it's still winning for white. I just really like the idea that I could create some mating net here. I really love the idea, but obviously it's just not working. There's always g3, knight h4, or whatnot. You can give a check and go to g6, you know. White is completely fine here. So g3, rook c2, threatening checkmate. I'm threatening checkmate! But here she played move g5. It's like a counter move to my g4 move earlier, remember? F takes g5, b7, rook b2, and rook a8. And this is why I needed my bishop here. This is why the bishop belonged to f8. Because now if I take on b7, knight d6 check. And if I don't take, I'm just allowing the promotion. I can stop this pawn. And there are no stalemate tricks now anymore whatsoever, especially after the pawn has gone to g5. And I can safely go to f6. So after rook a8, I resigned. And I was really devastated because I simply lost because of the opening. Because I prepped and I forgot the prep, and it's a recurring theme in my games that when I forgot the prep, or when I even prepped all whatsoever, I lost the game and lost because of the opening. So lesson of this tournament, guys. I'm not going to prepare ever again. Never. Never. I'm kidding. Preparing is important. I just need to know how to deal with prep. I mean, you win some, you lose some, and I think this is one of those that you just lose, and she played a really good game. I have to give her a lot of credit for this game because I know I played like a potato, but she was very patient. She was doing really, really well, consolidating and making use of all the positional weaknesses in my game, in my position. So yeah, a lot of credit to her. She played a really good game and she finished it off really, really well in a really beautiful fashion, which I'm a little bit jealous of, but that's fine. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to give it a like. Make sure to drop a comment in the section below. Let me know what you thought of the video, and let me know what you think of this Bongcloud opening when played correctly, okay? Okay, not like this. See you next time.